There was a multitude of people who contributed to the success of Portugal during this age of exploration. Due to this period of time, Portugal rose to power and internationally gained a lot of territory. One of the people who started the whole thing was Prince Henry the Navigator, a Portuguese man who set up the first sailing school. This gave the Portuguese the advantage of being able to sail well in the adverse conditions that the international waters would bring. Their superior training would help more ships survive and make complete trips. This allowed for more information to actually reach Portugal. Bartholomew Diaz was another crucial player in the success of the Portuguese. He was the first sailor to round the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. However, he returned to Portugal in fear of continuing on to India. He laid the path for the next important Portuguese sailor. Vasco da Gama made a very similar voyage to Diaz, but he made stops on the African coasts to trade with Muslim merchants. He went in search of Christians and spices. He didn't find any Christians, but he eventually landed on the southwest coast of India and brought spices back to Portugal. Afonso de Albuquerque made a similar voyage to da Gama soon thereafter. He established a hub for trade in Calicut, which served as a headquarters, so to speak, for the Portuguese. After that, he continued to the Spice Islands, which is present-day Indonesia and the Philippines. Religion, spices, and cotton motivated all these explorers. The spices and cotton were unique in Europe, giving them a big advantage in trade. They could monopolize the spices that were only coming in from the Indies. Religion motivated all explorers in the fact that they needed to seek Catholics outside of Europe due to the Protestant Reformation. These three things were crucial in motivating exploration of all these new lands. Their main focus was Indian port cities like Calicut and Goa, and the Pacific Rim countries north of Australia. On the other side of the world, the Portuguese claimed the eastern hump of South America and Brazil. In 1494, the Pope even split the New World in half between Portugal and Spain, just to make it fair, in the Treaty of Tordesillas. So any territory within Portugal's boundary, its eastern bounds going right through Brazil, all the way west to the aforementioned Spice Islands, became their main focus for exploration. There were many short and long-term implications of all this exploring. At the time, it just made Portugal more of an international power, rather than constantly living in the shadow of Spain. Portugal also gained wealth from their monopoly on spices from the east. The spice trade could also give an explanation as to how spices like cinnamon, ginger, and cloves became prevalent parts of European cuisine. Effects of this era that are still extremely relevant today would include the fact that unlike all of the rest of South America, Brazil speaks Portuguese as opposed to Spanish. Also, the stabilization of the countries that were in a more primal state during this time, like the islands of southeastern Asia, could be accredited to Portugal. Overall, this age of exploration was an extremely successful time for Portugal, and without it, the world would not be what it is today.